Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now is, right, a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Attention Ditto Heads. Attention Bo Scouts.
Goes by the pseudonym Bo Snerdley.
It's time for the soul of excellence.
He is a radio host here in New York.
The Rush Hour is on the air.
Rush.
Now here's James Golden.
The Republican election bills being considered are a direct attack on dissent of current Republican policies on married women, women who build careers, led companies, serve in Congress, and yes, women like me who got married and changed their names.
Support, because it is just common sense. Americans need an ID to drive, to open a bank account, to buy cold medicine, to file government assistance. As is noted by the leader, you even need an ID to attend events of most Democrat politicians and even the Democrat National Convention. So, why would voting be any different than that? They can't answer that question. And so they come up with all these crazy excuses of why they can't support it. They've attempted so many arguments to oppose the passage of this simple legislation. First,
and no one asked the congresswoman that you heard, ladies and gentlemen, if it's an attack on women, that assumes then I guess you don't vote. Because she said women like me who've gotten married change their names. She's alleging they can't vote. So I guess, which would be easy to find out, that women like Congresswoman Norma Torres cannot vote because she got married. Changed the name. Well, is she voting? How is she in Congress? So silly. James Golden Snerdley, welcome, my friends, to the Tuesday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. Fastest hour in American media. Treat for you today, Princess Diana is scheduled to join us by midway through the program, and we can't wait, of course, to catch up with her. The SAFE Act is moving through. Democrats are, of course, hysterical about it. I want to revisit one thing that we spoke of yesterday, and yesterday we played a translation of some of Bad Bunny's. Bad Bunny. I keep wanting to call him Big Bunny, but Bad Bunny. I don't know why. We played a translation of one of his songs, and I was unclear whether that one was included in the playlist of what he performed at the Super Bowl. Well, I didn't even bother sending it in because we can't play it on the air. Now there are translations for some of the songs that were performed. Folks, I can't do it. I can't even read without censoring some of the songs that were performed. When I tell you that they are highly sexual with some of the most graphic language imaginable, it is an understatement. If the FCC, the Federal Communications, does not do an investigation on what was aired over the nation's airwaves. These airwaves do not belong to any one network. They are public airwaves. And therefore, they are under the regulation of the Federal Communications Commission. It is appropriate. It is almost, to me, inescapable that there will have to be an investigation over what was aired. And if these translations are correct, somebody should be fined very heavily. Whether it's the network that aired them, whether it's a combination of the network and NFL would be responsible for it, I don't know. But it is almost beyond belief what the lyrics to some of these songs were. And we've never, in the history of television, if this is the case, the history of public television, have these sentiments been expressed on America's airwaves. I hope the FCC is going to do an investigation. Representative Randy Fine from Florida is also among those calling for the Federal Communications Commission to investigate the broadcast. He says in a statement, Bad Bunny's disgusting halftime show was illegal. Had he said these lyrics and all the other disgusting and pornographic filth in English on live TV, the broadcast would have been pulled down and the fines would have been enormous. Puerto Ricans are Americans, and we all live by the same rules. We are sending Brendan Carr, FCC, a letter calling for dramatic action, including fines and broadcast license reviews against the NFL, NBC, and Bad Bunny. He ends by saying, lock them up. It is... You've never heard anything like it. I was just looking at some of the lyrics, trying to see if there's a way that I can tell you what it says. I can't. Too pornographic to go into detail. I don't want to risk, even in describing what is a news event, violating the FCC's policies in that manner. It is beyond belief. Okay, a few things. You had testimony this morning in front of the House of Todd Lyons and others on ICE, and we have a few sound bites from that I want to get to today. There's some other funny things in the news. Did you know, Carlos, this should I don't know whether you'll be interested or not, TJ, this is kind of interesting to me anyway. Did you know that political advertising on TV is inherently racist? Did you know that? Well, I guess I can't hear you. I can't read lips that well.
We established yesterday or, I don't know, a year ago that everything is racist pretty much. Like, we can't even say good morning without being racist, if you remember that one.
That's right. There was a woman that said, yes, that the good morning is racist because of the origins of who said good morning. And it wasn't a good morning for the slaves. Representative Jasmine Crockett in Texas, her Senate campaign is falling far behind in fundraising and spending. And Jen Ramos, a political commentator and member of the Texas State Democrat Executive Committee, suggested that Jasmine Crockett has to take an unconventional approach to statewide campaigning because traditional methods such as buying large ads, are not designed from her. What she said is that candidates of color cannot use these traditional methods because these traditional methods were not designed for them. So, yeah. So candidates of color, brown and black political candidates, cannot use television ads because television ads weren't designed for black people to use. Television ads are racist, and black people are excluded from using television ads. Thought you'd like to know that. Speaking of black candidates in running for office, listen to New York, cut 5, listen to New York Representative Charles Barron from New York. I don't know who he's addressing in this, but the clip is on social media. This is former Representative Charles Barron of New York.
I have the distinct honor to be able to come before you and say I actually lost white population in my community. I lost them. They left. They left. I didn't ask them why. They left. So if you see 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 whites in my neighborhood, they're passing through. But that's on a serious note. We got 13,000 black elected officials in this country. We've had mayors, we've had governors, we have city council members. We need to get radical.
Imagine for one moment, ladies and gentlemen, you just happen to be strung across and you see some white guy saying, I have the honor to report that we lost black population in my district. The blacks left. I didn't ask them why they left, but and the crowd goes, yay, yay, the black people left. Can you imagine what that news story would look like as it was being reported? If you happen to see some black people straggling around the neighborhood, 1, 2, or 3 of them, don't worry, they're just passing through. They don't belong here. Yay! Yay! Yeah, that's acceptable. What he said is acceptable. All right, on to congressional testimony. When we get back, we have to hear from some Democrats. We have 5 minutes of Eric Swalwell. There's no way I can squeeze 5 minutes of Swalwell in here today. Maybe we'll touch a minute of it. But there are others. And remember, Princess Di is coming up as well. So whatever you do, keep it right here. I have the honor to report that we have every kind of human being that wants to listen to this program listening to it, ladies and gentlemen. We will exclude no one. On this day, in 1988, the debut album from Terence Trent D'Arby reached number 1 across the pond on the UK charts. From that album, Wishing Well went number 1 in the States. If You Let Me Stay and Sign Your Name also, this one did incredibly well. He later changed his name to Sananda Marietta, saying that Terence Trent D'Arby was dead. Well, while Terence Trent D'Arby was alive, the album rocked. 1988. James Golden, Snerdley, don't go away.
Rush. This is The Rush Hour with James Golden.
Bo Snerdley.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
James Golden, known popularly as Bo Snerdley.
This is The Rush Hour with James Golden.
Rush.
All right, so this morning in Congress, the acting director of ICE, Todd Lyons, testified, among others. I just want to play some of the sound bites. Let's begin with one of the Democrat parties. I want to be kind to him and just say he's probably one of the dim bulbs. You know, you have bright lights and then you have dim lights, or the dim bulbs. Dan Goldman from New York, certainly not one of the brightest members of Congress in my estimation, was there. Cut 9, and this is part of Dan Goldman's interaction with Todd Lyons.
Questioning you.
No, I'll tell you what the wrong type
but actually,
of thing
sir,
is. Sir, it's my
Holocaust
time.
Museum
Reclaiming my time, sir.
If you want to go
reclaiming my time,
Mr.
Chairman.
It's not the men and women of ICE that are out there doing it every day. So to say that the men and women of ICE that
Mr. Chairman, I'm reclaiming my time. I would like my time back, please. Please give me another 15 seconds because he was unnecessarily speaking. You said in your opening statement that references to ICE as the Gestapo or the secret police encourages threats against ICE agents.
100%.
The problem is you have it backwards, sir. People are simply making valid observations about your tactics, which are un-American and outright fascist. So I have a simple suggestion. If you don't want to be called a fascist regime or secret police, then stop acting like one. But people are simply just observing what they are seeing. And that's why people are making those comments. Now, I was a prosecutor for 10 years.
Yeah, Dan Goldman. Basically, and all of the Democrats continued with their lines. They're the Gestapo, they're fascists, they're just enforcing the law. Then LaMonica McIver, you might remember her. She's facing trial for actually assaulting ICE agents in New Jersey. It was her turn. Cut 12. Here she is.
Let me ask you some questions that you may be able to answer. Mr. Lyons, do you consider yourself a religious man?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yes. Okay, well, how do you think Judgment Day will work for you with so much blood on your hands?
I'm not going to entertain that question.
Oh, okay, of course not. Do you think you're going to hell, Mr. Lyons?
I'm not going to entertain.
Of course not. How many government...
The gentlelady will suspend. The gentlelady will suspend.
Chairman?
A gentlelady will suspend. As I said, the issues we're debating here are important to ones that members feel deeply about.
Thank you,
While
Chairman.
vigorous disagreement is part of the legislative process, members are reminded that we must adhere to established standards of decorum and debate. The witnesses are here voluntarily, and I will continue to remind members that while oversight is important, aggressively attacking those witnesses personally is inappropriate and not in keeping with the traditions of our committee.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just asking a question. You guys are always talking about religion here in the Bible. I mean, it's okay for me to ask a question, right?
I'm just asking a question. I'm asking it. You think you can go to hell? This is outrageous. But these are Democrats. Then you get to Eric Swalwell. Again, I have 5 minutes of Swalwell. You know, he's running for office. He's trying to run for the governorship in California. You know who endorsed him? Schiff endorsed his candidacy. Fang Fang's former boyfriend. Anyway, that'll give you a taste of what was on tap this morning in the House of Representatives. James Golden Snerdley with you here. When we get back, Princess Diana's going to join us. So whatever you do, keep it right where you are and do not go away. Thank you.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
James Golden, known popularly as Bo Snerdley.
This is The Rush Hour with James Golden.
Rush.
James Golden. She is the love of the many. Her political astuteness is in a class by itself. She's the goodness, the highness, the analysisness of everything. Princess Diana here during the week. So happy to have you, Your Highness. Welcome.
Thank you, Sir Jamesness. As always, it's so wonderful to speak with you. I just wanted to mention, we had talked a little bit on Saturday about the new czar of the anti-fraud task force, who is going to be named as J.D. Vance, and the importance of this for the Trump administration to be going after fraud nationally. There's a new Department of Justice fraud division. And so this is going to be a huge focus, and it is so important because the country is being swamped by fraud. And I know you and I have talked about this, that GAO estimates $500 billion a year in fraud. And so I was reminded of this when I saw a story today, and I think you have the soundbite. This is from a local Minnesota ABC affiliate, and it is about fraud tourism, if you have that bite.
We do, and here it is.
This is the case involving the two men from Philadelphia who heard it was easy to rip off taxpayers here in Minnesota. Federal prosecutors have called this case fraud tourism, saying the men traveled here to steal from the now defunct Medicaid program. Today, they traveled back here to face the consequences, and I had the chance to ask them about it. They called it fraud tourism. You want to respond to that, sir? You have to tell them. Why Minnesota, Mr. Brown? He's got no comment today. Anything you want to say to taxpayers here? That's Lester Brown and Anthony Jefferson, both from Philly. They admitted in court today to setting up businesses in the housing stabilization program here in Minnesota. We learned today the men used ChatGPT to draft fake client notes and use them to submit inflated bills for reimbursement. Prosecutors say instead of helping people find stable housing, they stole more than $3.5 million from the program that shut down late last year.
It's just unbelievable.
It is unbelievable, and it is so significant. There is an old saying that the law is a great teacher, and I think non-enforcement of the law is a very evil teacher, and that has been spreading throughout this country of, basically money for nothing, kickbacks, and stealing, and theft, and that it's fine. And I was struck by an article I read from the London Times, of all places, about a Stanford student. It was written by her, and let me read the title. Nearly 40% of Stanford undergrads claim they're disabled. I'm one of them. Mm-hmm. One of the most prestigious universities in the U.S. offers perks to those who say they have ADHD, night terrors, even gluten intolerance. You'd be stupid not to game the system. And this woman proudly writes in this article, it was originally in The Atlantic, that the system is there to be gamed, and if you're not gaming it, you're putting yourself in a disadvantage. And so she feels entitled to all of the perks that she has gotten. She says that she feels justified because she has a woman's issue that gives her monthly pain. And so she gets accommodations of more time in tests, all kinds of things. And she says it's, you'd be dumb not to. And she says there's no shame in it. The students aren't exactly cheating. And if they are, can you blame them? Stanford has made gaming the system the logical choice. And I think that has been the mindset that has been just spreading everywhere. You've had these two guys from Philadelphia say, hey, they're not enforcing the law in Minnesota. Fraud is easy. Money is easy. Let's go there and do it. And, of course, there's a new sheriff in town, so they aren't going to get away with it. But this mentality that, the system is there to be taken advantage of, and so why not? This was the lawyer I read. This is what reminded me. The lawyer I read in the New York Times in November, this quote, no one was doing anything about the red flags, talking about the Minnesota fraud. It was like someone was stealing money from the cookie jar and they kept refilling it. And that was the lawyer for the fraudsters in Minnesota for the mentality, which is identical to this Stanford woman, this undergraduate who is 21 years old. This idea is, hey, the money's there, the system is there to be gamed, and you're stupid not to take advantage of it. And that is why the importance of this fraud czar new job that J.D. Vance is going to have. This has got to be taught again in this country for ordinary people to know that the commandment holds true, thou shalt not steal, and that a country where stealing is not only not ignored, but it's to be proud of, and it's something that you should feel no shame or guilt in doing it. That lesson has to be learned, that cannot stand. So I just wanted to mention that story of this woman. I'm going to send it to you, who basically says it's perfectly fine to scam the system and claim you're disabled when you're not. And that was the same mentality in Minnesota and in California, where we have $100 billion, it looks like, in fraud. And in Minnesota, up to $10 billion. So the money is being stolen from the taxpayer, and it's being just shrugged at by the people doing it.
Now, let me ask you a question. That thou shalt not steal, does that also pertain to presidents of the United States?
Absolutely. It applies
so presidents
to all of them.
okay, so presidents should not steal either, right?
Correct.
Okay, well, we got a problem then, because this young woman, she's got to be in her maybe young mid-30s or something. Beautiful SUV that she's recording this from. And I want you to listen to her allegations of theft, because she's mad that the president stole from her.
I'm pissed off. Donald Trump stole my food stamps, and I'm not happy at all. Currently, we were getting like $800 a month in food stamps, and that helped us a lot. And then he caught on that I been making some money on TikTok, and basically they sent me an email, and they're like, you can't get it anymore. You're making too much money, and now I make too much money. It's kind of stupid to me, because it doesn't matter what I make on this stupid little app. I'm still not making enough to have $800 in food stamps. I think I deserve it. And then to make matters worse, he of course had to take my housing too. So now we have to pay out of pocket for our house. So this is ridiculous. My daughter stopped paying me half of her check because of her stepdad. Now I have to pay rent, and I don't get my $800 a month in food stamps. This is seriously my 13th reason why. And no, I don't want any of your opinions.
I tell you. The entitled mentality there, that is what has to be changed, because there is pride in basically taking taxpayers' money. A few weeks ago I said that we need a new category label. We have the upper class, the middle class, the lower class, and I think we need to categorize the pirate class. And she is one of them. The Stanford undergraduate is one of them. This idea that, they can just take from the taxpayer, and then the other class is the oppressed class, which is the law-abiding, tax-paying citizen. And so that is a better way to look at the situation, and we got to eliminate the pirate class and that mentality and get back to thou shalt not steal.
I love the pirate class. Let me just mention this to you. I think along with what you're talking about, there is perhaps another fraud effort that is being undertaken by the Trump administration that might even overshadow what you're talking about, with J.D. Vance at the head. Do you have any clue what I'm suggesting that might be?
Tell me, James.
Okay, I'll tell you. Trump set to gut U.S. climate change policy and environmental regulations. White House officials. That comes from the AP. The Trump administration is expected this week to revoke a scientific finding that has long been the central basis for U.S. action to regulate greenhouse gas emissions, and fight climate change. So the EPA is going to issue a final rule rescinding a 2009 government declaration known as the endangerment finding, Obama era, that determined carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases endanger public health and welfare. And apparently this is the legal underpinning of nearly all climate change regulations. The left, in advance of this even being announced, so far as this rumored, are already beginning to have a cow. If this happens, this will be the overturning of the biggest fraud case in American history.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can't believe it. I had not heard that. That is the best news ever. And immediately they're going to have global conferences that they all will be flying in their private jets to talk about how wrong Donald Trump is.
Yeah, if this happens, then that is really anti-fraud, because this whole thing has been built on, and we are talking about we are talking literally trillions of dollars.
Yes.
When you look at it. Oh, by the way, have you heard that the UN is going broke? And it's our fault because we haven't been sending them money. And if we don't send them money, supposedly they're going to go under.
Oh, what a shame. That's going to be such a tragedy. Well, Donald Trump will have great ideas for that real estate in New York. Oh, that's such good news. I cannot tell you that. And it needs to happen because that underpins a lot of academia and the basic scam going on in American higher education. So that will solve a lot of problems.
All right, now one more quick thing before we go. You and I will have only about a minute to comment on this afterwards. Cut number 4. Speaking of fraud, there's this news coming out of the state of Alabama.
3,000 registered voters in Alabama just got booted from the state voter rolls. That's after the Secretary of State, Wes Allen, ordered the removal of all non-citizens who were registered. But how did non-citizens get registered in the first place? WAFF 48's Nick Ballinger spoke to the Secretary of State to get to the bottom of this story. Nick?
Yeah, Margo, when I asked Secretary Allen how these people got registered to vote in the first place, he couldn't give me a clear answer just yet, saying it was still being investigated. But when he gave me a breakdown of how many there were in each county, the numbers were glaring. This is a list from Secretary of State Wes Allen of how many non-citizens were registered to vote in our counties. The state found 3,251 people. 742 of them were from North Alabama.
We got the information. We cross-checked it against our centralized data file here in the state of Alabama and found those 3,200 individuals.
The information he's talking about are people with alien registration numbers. Those are issued to immigrants who intend to live in this country permanently and have already applied for a green card. However, you're not eligible to vote with just an alien identification number. When I asked Allen how 3,000 plus were able to register in the first place, he couldn't give me the answer.
But it's our belief that only American citizens should be allowed to vote. Non-citizens, whether they're legal or illegal immigrants, cannot register to vote. It's a federal offense.
To vote here.
The Princess Diana got a problem here. Democrat been telling me for all the time, Prince Diana, they said that alien can't vote. They say this is not a problem. It don't happen. Democrats been saying it don't happen. We don't only U.S. citizens vote. Boy, what's wrong with you? We don't have no illegals voting. Well, what the hell going on here, Princess?
This never happens. We have been told over and over.
It never happens.
It never happens. And that's one of the reasons that all the Democrats voted against a citizenship test for voting. So, I think that this is probably as widespread as fraud, and it's part of it, because that's the payback. When you have a Democrat voting bloc and you have fraud in that voting bloc, then you get the votes going back and the money coming in. It is just a wonderful, smart, it's taking advantage of the system as Democrats want it to be. The system was set up for this way deliberately, and it's being taken advantage of. And the taxpayers had enough.
I hope you are right. Princess Diana, thank you so much for joining us. It's so great to have you during the week. I hope you do this more often.
Anytime, Sir James.
She says that now, and then when I ask her, she's like, no. Thank you, Princess Diana.
I will be available, I promise.
Okay, thank you. James Golden and Snerdley. Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. Fastest hour in American media continues. Don't go away.
Rush. This is the Rush Hour with James Golden.
Bo Snerdley.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
It's the Rush Hour with James Golden.
Goes by the pseudonym Bo Snerdley.
Rush.
Now, here's James Golden.
But Judge Davis thought the jury's recommendation was too long. She feels he hasn't mentally matured yet and never had a real shot at getting any help early in life.
But if you were to come in here and instead of being hurt and angry, which is what this court hears, right, as a 20-year-old African-American male that has been, experienced this society, etc., and you would show that, yes, okay, this is the situation, this is who I am. I don't want to be this person anymore. I don't want to be in jail for forever.
Thompson repeatedly stated he did not care, not about his sentence, the victim, or her family. But Judge Davis emphasized she's the one that holds the pen, and regardless of what the media may think, she applies the law. To her, 65 years was an extremely long time. As she puts it, it's his whole life, one she doesn't believe should be spent entirely behind bars.
This court does not believe that Mr. Thompson, if given the resources that he can get while incarcerated, is beyond being rehabilitated.
Yeah. That was in Kentucky. Poor baby. What did he do? He was a rapist and apparently had some other violent crime history, 20 years old. Told her just, I don't care about the victim. He had a 65-year sentence. She cut it in half because she felt sorry for him. And poor baby. We promised you a little bit more Roberta Flack today. We're going to play, I guess, Roberta again at the end of the month. Last year on February 24th, Roberta passed away in Manhattan, New York. She was 88. But wow, what a career. I don't know. She's just so special and was so special. So we thought we'd leave you with some Roberta today on this, her heavenly birthday. What would have been her 89th birthday. Roberta Flack. May God bless, protect each and every single one of you, your families, your loved ones. Love and gratitude for your being here with me, allowing me to be with you. God willing, back tomorrow for the Wednesday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. Until then, I bid you adieu. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. You can hear Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour weekdays at 4 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our country has to offer, especially health care. Across every state, every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.